Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Fan Friction. I'm your host, Jack Shipley. Welcome back. If you've never seen a show before, this is where a bunch of film movie nerds get together and debate the most interesting questions of the day. Like today, we're going to be talking about David Lynch movies, third seasons of television shows, and punching you right in the feels. So you're in for a good one today. Let's introduce our guests. He's a voiceover artist, video essayist, and host of Movies and Me. Please welcome Nolan Dean back to the show.
I have the worst beard on this panel. I just want to apologize for that.
You can just shave that whenever you're ready, dude. It's time to go. Now, it looks great. Thanks for being back on the show. He's one half the host of Odd Shape Channel, and it's a twofer here on TUFF. Please welcome back Tom Bennis.
Hi, everybody. I'm here.
After a long night of work, right?
Yes.
It's almost the same as being Sam Catlin, who lives in Australia and does our show at 2 in the morning. So thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I have no idea where I am, so that's great.
And then he's the game designer responsible for the awesome Cards Against Aronofsky. That's how you know him. We know him also from the Screen Junkies channel. Please welcome back Lon Harris.
You nailed it. Cards Against Aronofsky. What's so hard about that?
Thank you very much for joining us back on the show, Lon. It's great to have you back. And of course, they are the hosts of BFF here on TUFF later tonight and are back to check our facts in the checker chair. Please welcome back Ashley and Joe Davis.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
And I honestly probably would have shaven this off, but like right here where the goatee area is like the hardest area to shave. There's just so many spots.
But it looks wonderful. And guys, as always, Joe's going to be checking your tweets in the chat, so you can check the tweets at TUFF BFF. Oh no, wait, I forget. The TUFF BFF is their show. This is TUFF. This is TUFF TUFF. And tweet along with us on Twitter, and we'll be happy to include you in the show. And with that in mind, let's get together and do the game. So, Lon, you are our guest. You're going to go first. Welcome to the new feature on our show. We actually start off with a lightning round. It's going to determine who goes first during round one. And I'm going to read you 5 categories, and you're going to pick one, and that'll determine the fight. So today's categories are So Many Mushrooms, Harris and Ford, Odd-Shaped Question, Get in My Belly, and Those Wonderful Toys.
Well, I guess it's themed after me. It only makes good sense. Let's go Harrison Ford.
All right. Okay, guys, so shout out your answers when you're ready. And the question is, what past role that Harrison Ford has not yet returned to should he return to next?
Air Force One.
The Fugitive.
Right. The Fugitive. And Tom. It can be a movie that he sequeled and hasn't sequeled in a while, so it's not like that wouldn't count. He just can't have done it recently.
What if I don't think that Crystal Skull exists? Does that count?
So you want to come back from the Last Crusade?
Yeah, I want to pretend it never happened. Geez, I didn't think this would be so hard. Wow.
It's the speed round. It's the way to start the show and ruin everybody's morning.
Yeah, pretty much.
I've got one more. Can you do? Can I throw one?
I know. I was thinking of one too, and I'm like, how would you come back to do this one?
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I might have. I'm completely blank full of myself.
So, if it makes you feel any better, I was once asked to pick a Coen movie.
All you do is name one.
And all I had to do was name one Coen movie. One.
Didn't go well.
And no, it did not. But thankfully, my opponent also couldn't name one. So
you'll never forget Barton Fink's name again.
Oh my God! Right? Oh. If I liked that one movie with the dude that Joe loves so much, but I hate.
Joe is just judging you right now.
He is. He's shaking his head in disdain.
Oh my God, guys! This is ridiculous. First off, all that's screaming in my head is Blade Runner, and I keep having to remind myself that
the Blade Runner just came out. Exactly.
Coming out next week. I've heard great things, by the way. The buzz is awesome.
Oh,
do you want to do?
Excited.
I hate to witness your failure.
I don't want to.
But there is a clear and present danger of you getting eliminated in the first round.
He's getting a little frantic almost. I worry.
I'm guessing I haven't seen these movies. You guys.
No, you.
I mean, we could wait 6 days and 7 nights for you to come up with something.
I don't want to waste it.
Even I'm running out of Harrison Ford movies.
I mean, he's just mosquito coasting at this point.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus
I have
Christ.
no idea what you reference. Like, all the Harrison Ford movies have been taken that I know. Or just fight. Like, I feel bad. I don't want to take up your guys' time.
Presumed innocent, regarding Henry. I could keep going, guys.
Regarding Henry, I don't know how. I'll do regarding Henry if that's allowed.
There you go. Regarding Henry again.
Great pick for regarding Henry. Awesome.
Sorry,
Believe
everyone.
me. Hey, look, it's hard. It's not easy to come up with something when you don't know the questions. Totally cool. So, all right, we're going to get Nolan's going to start with Air Force One. Lon's going to pull The Fugitive. Tom has plenty of time to think of regarding Henry and what it was as a movie. And we are going to go with 30 seconds and then 20 seconds, Nolan. So, whenever you're ready, time begins when you start speaking.
Okay. So let me get my thoughts together.
You had an hour while Tom was trying to figure out a Harrison Ford movie.
that was for you, Nolan. This is strategy.
Right?
Okay. Air Force One is one of the most inventive and fun action movies of the 90s. Just watching that and seeing those performances with Gary Oldman and Harrison Ford make that one of the best rides. To see him return to that into the new political climate that we have nowadays would be a really interesting character study for him to go with, and you could put him up against a new villain that's not Gary Oldman, maybe the modern day Gary Oldman, as I like to call her, Tilda Swinton. Maybe she could play a new villain against him, and I think it would be really interesting to compare the two from their political settings and see where you can get them.
Awesome. Lon, The Fugitive, whenever you're ready.
So we got a follow-up to The Fugitive, but it was terrible. U.S. Marshals, it did exactly what we didn't want it to do, which is let's make up a new fugitive and have them chase this new fugitive. Wesley Snipes is the new fugitive. What we'd really like to see is Dr. Richard Kimball and Tommy Lee Jones' character getting together to solve another crime together. It's bringing those two characters together. We only got to see one scene of it at the end of the original Fugitive. It's very brief, but they're great together. They have great energy together, and that's what audiences wanted to see after the huge success, the runaway success of the 90s, The Fugitive. Maybe the best movie ever based on a TV.
Time. Awesome. All right, Tom, you ready?
As I'll ever be, yes.
Okay, go for it. Regarding Henry.
I don't know if we need another Harrison Ford goes after the bad guy movie. Obviously, he has the dramatic chops. He was breathtaking in Force Awakens. And so, regarding Henry too, his son, so he's a grandfather, Harrison Ford, and his son has a trope. Harrison Ford works, you know, the step to recover yourself and to learn about each other at the same time. It's a heartwarming drama. And there's no, I mean, The Fugitive? I'll save that for next. Okay.
And just to let you know, Tom, we are having a little bit of a signal issue, so you were popping in and out a couple times there. So I don't know if that's something we could fix, but just letting you know. Nolan, you'll have 20 seconds to rebut here whenever you're ready.
Okay. I think The Fugitive is too iconic of a movie to leave alone. Air Force One isn't that iconic, but to have a new one here and to expand upon the lore with that would be more interesting, especially with the political climate. I've not seen Regarding Henry, so I can't really comment on that, but Harrison Ford doesn't have to kill the bad guy in this. You could just have him as a character with a new president, and that could be equally as fun. Let's get another fun Harrison Ford action.
Time.
Air Force 2 doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's 20 years. He's an ex-president who's somebody's coming after the ex-president who's now an old man. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. Air Force One works perfectly as a standalone movie. You don't need to franchise that. It's a scenario. It's like a Die Hard scenario. We've had tons of Die Hard follow-ups. It's good as it is. Regarding Henry 2, nobody barely even remembers the 90s Regarding Henry.
Time. All right, Tom. Whenever you're ready.
What better way to subvert your expectations and surprise you than to bring up a movie that no one talks about anymore? I hadn't seen it like ever, and then Joe and Ashley brought it up, and I watched some of it, and I really liked it. I didn't have time to watch all of it, but I would have. Interesting piece. Air Force One or 2, Lon nailed it on the head, and The Fugitive, to quote Tommy Lee Jones, I don't care.
Nice, but I heard that. Nicely done. All right. Good job, guys. Let's go to Joe and Ash real quick. Ashley, what did you think? Who did you like the best?
I don't know. Lon really got me with Air Force 2. Doesn't make any sense. I just love that. I thought that one just really sold it to me the best, that rebuttal.
And Joe?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I will make the note though that Lon made the best tag like bottom title to Air Force 2, ex-president. I don't know, it works. But yes, Lon's argument of it doesn't make any sense.
And I am in agreement. I thought, and The Fugitive, I would see that sequel to The Fugitive. I think that is what you'd want to see. I actually could picture that movie in my head. Lon gets the point. Good job, Lon.
Yeah,
All right.
I really wish when U.S. Marshals came out, I was so excited because I loved The Fugitive, and I went to the premiere because I was writing reviews at that time, and like Tommy Lee Jones is sitting right in front of me, and I hated the movie. It was so one of the most disappointing experiences.
Yeah, I think that dynamic that they had, even in the short period of time that they were together on screen, was really great.
Well, I get what they were thinking, which is Tommy Lee Jones has that whole great little crew. Joe Pantoliano's on it, like his people, and they are great, but it's not enough for a full movie. You want Harrison Ford back.
Yeah, they figured out the wrong part of that movie to bring back. Okay, guys, so here's how that works. Lon, you get a point, and you get to choose the marching order for round one. Who would you like to go first? Who would you like to go second and third?
Oh,
you get to choose.
I'll go last.
Okay.
We let Tom go first and then Nolan because Tom went last on the speed round.
All right, perfect. So round number one's question is this. Nolan, if you didn't know, hosts a podcast called Movies and Me, and it's about films that have a special connection to his guests. So with that in mind, we're asking this question for round one. What is the best movie to punch someone right in the feels? So Tom originally was going to really punch us in the feels with a movie that would depress us all and commit suicide before the show was even over. So he was really kind to pick a different one. Tom, tell us about the movie that you chose.
I chose Guardians of the Galaxy 2. When you said movie that punches you in the feels, when the word punch comes to mind, it's not something that just makes me sad. It's something that kind of disorients me. And I felt so much throughout Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I don't know how deep into the argument I want to get into this here, but main points. I think for me, I don't have the greatest relationship with my dad. A lot of men do, and not to say that women don't either, but I think there's just something like in your like lizard brain that kind of like makes like it hard to work with like an older figure. Right. And like just everything that came throughout this movie, it was just a roller coaster. We'll get into it. I'm sure I don't want to take up everyone's time. It's awesome. I love this movie.
That's a great pick. Nolan, what did you choose?
So back when I was younger, in summer of 2014, I saw a trailer for a movie that I thought was going to immediately suck. But as I sat there watching it, was surrounded by all the teenage girls and their mothers, I walked out thinking, this is not only one of the best movies of the year, but possibly this decade. And I ended up even buying it. I chose The Fault in Our Stars. Now, if you don't know, The Fault in Our Stars, it's usually disproved as just being a movie about cancer, but it's so much more than that. I think this movie works just as well, even without the cancer storyline. You have great characters played by Ansel Elgort and Shailene Woodley. Tom knows how much I love Ansel Elgort, so of course I'm going to go on about that. And I think with The Fault in Our Stars, you have a movie that's not necessarily about losing life, but it's about embracing life. And rather than focusing on one specific emotion, this movie makes you feel every single emotion, and I think that's really hard to pull off. John Green did it so well in his book, and the guy who directed it did a great job bringing it to screen, and it's one of the best movies of the decade for me.
Awesome. Great pick. And then Lon, what did you choose?
I went with the movie. I mean, the other two options, and we'll do the argument later, but a lot of these movies, they're like realistic, sad scenarios that people sort of relate to. And I picked a movie that is more fanciful. It's more like a fairy tale. And in some ways, I think that makes it more impactful because you embrace sort of the allegory. Everybody can apply it to elements of their own life, even though nobody relates to the immediate story. And that's Edward Scissorhands. It's a really timeless story about feelings rather than situations. Like, it's sad when young people die. It's sad when old people die that we're connected to. Death is sad. These things are emotional. But Edward Scissorhands connects on this much deeper level. It's about loneliness. It's about alienation. It's about that feeling that you don't belong. It's about, feeling that you're never going to be able to connect and then making a connection with someone. And that is something that it's completely universal. You don't have to have engaged with these specific scenarios in order to relate to it and to feel emotional about it and to get where the movie's going. It also has one of the most just nakedly heartbreaking endings of any movie. It's full of emotional sequences and memorable imagery. But the last 15 minutes of Edward Scissorhands, it's so beautiful. It's the most beautiful stuff that Tim Burton has ever directed, and it's also the most emotionally resonant. So that's my pick.
All right, guys, go for it.
Well, I don't believe that you have to pick a movie that's heartbreaking to get it to punch you in the feels. Now, The Fault in Our Stars does this by making it more of an uplifting story about living your life to the fullest. And Lon, like you said, Edward Scissorhands, it is good, but there's that fairy tale element to it that makes it less relatable. And Tom, whilst I do like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I gotta admit, a lot of the emotional moments in that movie do get bogged down by the jokes, and it makes me take it less seriously.
It's also one thing we have to note for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the most emotional scene, the scene that really punches you in the feels, is a direct homage to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I mean, so it's really taking an iconic
I disagree.
scene and it's remixing it for a younger generation.
The funeral was a nice touch, but that's not at all what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about then? What's the emotional climax of that movie to you that really punching in the feels is not, this is an emotional movie. It's a punch. It's a sudden emotional climax.
That's what well, it's definitely sudden and disorienting. I agree. So we just come off seeing Star-Lord and Ego literally playing catch for the first time, something that people look on fondly, and then people who haven't had that experience want, as we see with Star-Lord. And not 5-10 minutes later, we find out that Ego gave his mother cancer. Like, that filled me with such rage. So not only did I have fondness go right into rage, he crushed the Walkman, which is everything that the first movie stands for. So that made me a little pissed too.
I mean, and
then you have this whole sequence of events, which he not only, it goes through, and he has a resolution, but he ends up losing 2 father figures, and remorse, and then to have that broken up with the giant Pac-Man coming through. I was in tears and I laughed maniacally when that Pac-Man came through.
Suddenly I'm David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, a shocking twist is not a punch in the feels. It's a shocking twist. And what you're describing is, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I agree. It's an inventive screenplay that doesn't go where you think it's going to go. But an emotional punch is like, I'm devastated. I'm saddened.
Devastated if the person you love the most, you found out your dad gave cancer to,
it's not.
You wouldn't be devastated?
The character would be, but that's a fun movie. It's funny. People remember Guardians 2 as mostly funny.
That moment would have worked so much better if they didn't do the David Hasselhoff joke right after it.
All right, you have no room to talk, Tumblr the movie. So you say that's the celebration of life. They over-glorify death the entire movie. They're like, let's have a play funeral. Like, it's a metaphor, I know, but
they don't glorify death at all. It's not a movie about death. It's a movie about living your life to the fullest, and I think that's
when you
really
have
inspiring.
4 eulogies read about it. It's about death.
It is about death. It hits you over the head with it. It's got 2 dying characters, not 1. It's melodramatic and it's manipulative. Fault in Our Stars even opens with a voiceover monologue about like, oh yeah, I'm dying. And she even sets you up on that. This is not going to be what you expect. This is not going to be the sort of usual take on a dying young person and the tragedy of it. And then it completely becomes that by the end. And to even have them go to the Anne Frank house. I mean, is there a more nakedly manipulative thing in your tool bag than to have characters go to Anne Frank's house? I mean, why would you even tie it into the Holocaust?
And make out there.
And why? That's so inappropriate. It's purely like, well, this is emotional. Yeah. This is a thing that touches people.
I could almost forgive it if the characters were slightly interesting, but they're both manic pixie dream whatevers. Like they're fake sophisticated. Like John Green had a field day making himself feel smart in this book and the movie. Like I haven't seen any work of him since because he hasn't been in like lightning in the bottle, unless that's the name of no, it's Nicholas Sparks. Anyway. First off, but I feel like we're letting Lon get away here because we're only concentrating on our movies.
So good. Such a good pick.
I mean, it's great. It's a great reimagining of a fairy tale we already all know.
You already know a fairy tale about a guy with
Pinocchio. Are you kidding me? It's Pinocchio.
The Beast, Pinocchio.
The Pinocchio.
Pinocchio with a dash of Peter Pan.
And his nose grows when he lies. Edward Scissorhands
wants to be a real boy. Vincent Price is Geppetto.
you're saying because so AI is also just a retelling of Pinocchio and has no value. Like any element of a fairy tale in any other movie that's it. That's a bad movie.
I never attacked it. You're the one who's saying it makes it a bad movie.
No, I'm saying it's a modern fairy tale that integrates elements of a lot of other fairy tales and tells an original.
It's heavily on the score, though. Like, I think without that score, like if it was best moving, yeah. But I think without the score, it would not hold a candle.
So the guy whose entire movie is built around a '70s soundtrack is saying my movie relies on music too much.
If I was arguing, you
don't have a movie.
Just the concept of Edward Scissorhands makes it more unrelatable. It's like a fairy tale, and that just makes it less relatable for people watching it. You need a suspension of disbelief for that movie to work.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 did not heavily rely on the music. In fact, it heavily relied on the lyrics of the music because Guardians of the Galaxy. But they also listen. They are aware of the music happening. It's a part of the setting.
Didn't write Brandy or a Fine Girl. How is Danny Elfman's score contributing to the emotional climax of Edward Scissorhands different than the song Brandy or a Fine Girl contributing to the emotional climax of Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
Because you didn't bring that point up to argue until now.
Mine had a great Ed Sheeran song at the end of it.
No, but I'm saying my whole thing is what is Tim Burton movies but set pieces that just that's
besides that. Edward Scissorhands is also it's also like a sort of suburban look at it's a sort of a cynical, satirical, but also genuine and warm look at suburbia. It's got that amazing
how is this helping me emotionally?
Also
Where's
a love
the punch?
story.
Just because it's suburbia.
Also about fathers and sons, like your movie's about. Edward Scissorhands touches on a ton of different things. It's not just Danny Elfman scores in Snow.
All right, so here's what I'd like to do.
How does a mechanical boy get drunk?
He's not mechanical.
Come to Scotland.
He's not mechanical?
He's not mechanical.
Are you kidding me?
He's not fully mechanical.
He's not fully mechanical. There's only an organic. There's organic matter there.
We'll let our fact checkers decide. For sure,
we'll have to figure out exactly how Edward exists.
All right, I'd like to start with final thoughts. Now, Tom, I actually feel like I already understand the emotional punch of your movie, but guys, I do want to make sure that you have a scene that you can point to that just says this scene is really the emotional impact for me. So make sure that I get it. What is your final thoughts, Tom? Why is your movie got the better punch than the other two?
I just think like I said, when you get punched by someone, you're wondering why. You're going, am I already hurt? Like, you're trying to analyze everything. The movie did, especially in the scene when you find out that Star-Lord's in this otherworldly trance, and this news is so shocking enough to pull him out that, like, I don't think anyone can say that they saw Ego giving Star-Lord's mother cancer coming. I thought it was one of the best Marvel twists, and I felt betrayed. I like Kurt Russell. Why would Kurt Russell do this to me? It's very satisfying, and I think how it all elevates to him realizing that Yondu was there for him, and then just to lose him. And yes, it was capped off with a beautiful funeral. I get that it was an homage, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual characterization of feeling betrayed, hurt, sad, man. Like, there's just so much wrapped into that I don't think that your movies can. Arguing that they don't have that feeling, but I feel like Nolan's is very insincere, and Lon's is very fantastical.
All right, Nolan, final thoughts.
I think you're both misunderstanding what The Fault in Our Stars is really about. Yes, it sets it up to make it seem like it's a story about death, but the scene I'm going to choose here for the emotional punch is the actual final scene when Hazel Grace is just listening to Ansel Elgort's last message to her, and she just says, okay. She's going to be embracing life. She's not going to let his death stop her from living her life. And I think that's more inspiring and uplifting than just being a simple, here's a sad scene, let's all cry. That's an emotional punch. The emotional punch here is realizing that whilst death is a part of life, you can still live it to the fullest. And I think that makes it for a more enjoyable experience. It makes it more relatable. And that's my final thoughts.
Okay. And Lon.
Okay, so in Fault in Our Stars, two things. One, he says, it's not a movie about death. I want to talk about the last scene where she's listening to a message from her dead boyfriend. I think that's about death. It's about having a dead boyfriend. The other thing is, if your movie is trying to make people sad from the very beginning, it's about a dying young person, which is inherently sad, it's not really a sudden punch to the feels. It's an emotional movie. That whole movie is trying to hit you in the feels. It's not a gut punch moment where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm feeling this intensely, because the whole movie is sad. Now, as for Guardians 2, I mean, it's a good movie. Michael Rooker's very good. I agree. If the argument was, what movie has the most shocking twist climax, or what movie punches the main character in the feels the most, I'd be like, Guardians 2 is a great pick. But Guardians 2 didn't really punch me in the feels. It delighted me. I liked the movie a lot. It's a lot of fun. But if you ask people to describe that movie in one word, they would say fun, or funny, or cool looking, or exciting. They wouldn't say sad, or emotionally resonant, or so touching, or so moving. That's exactly what people say about Edward Scissorhands. And if you think about the scene, I'm not even going to talk about the romance with the Winona Ryder. I'm not even going to talk about killing the bully and realizing he has to stay isolated in the castle forever. Those are very emotional scenes. But just the flashback when Vincent Price has his finished human hands and then dies before he can put them on, and Edward watches them crumble. It's impossible to not feel sad. It is, Nolan's right, it's not a situation we've been in. But if you can't relate to that moment of thinking you're going to get what you've always wanted and finally make that connection with the world, only to see it slip through your fingers and only to lose that opportunity, everybody's experienced that. We can all relate to it.
Fantastic. Well done, guys. Really great fight.
How can it slip through his fingers if he has scissors for hands?
Oh my God.
It's called a metaphor.
Let's go to Ashley and Joe to find out if Edward Scissorhands has any organic parts.
According to the internet, that he's kind of like a robot, but he's kind of like a Pinocchio, so it's a little bit inconclusive on the little cursory search I could do. Other facts.
He builds it, and then, yes, like magic happens, and he becomes flesh.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main understanding as well. Again, I didn't have like a whole time to do a lot of research about what the origins of Edward Scissorhands were. Josh Boone directed The Fault in Our Stars, and John Green actually has a new novel coming out on October 10th called Turtles All the Way Down.
Pre-ordered it already.
And he has 5 other novels that have come out. He's been writing about since 2005, and he has another movie that's also been adapted, Paper Towns. And The Fault in Our Stars, we are BFF tonight at 7 Eastern.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yes. So we'll be talking about all of the things from that movie. Other than that, pretty opinionated round, so not too many things to fact check.
What did Twitter have to say?
Twitter's got some other interesting ones like My Girl, Big Sick, Field of Dreams. Let's see what else.
The Monster Calls is one I
Monster
saw.
Calls, well, Color Purple. Yeah, lots of little. No, I say little, but lots of movies.
Nice.
Lots of people agreeing with all 3 choices to an extent. Raoul's in Nolan's camp, for example. We know what camp Kimber's in.
Yeah, I wonder who Kimber's going to pick. All right, so guys, this was a great round, actually. Nolan, I think everybody pretty much set their guns on you and really gave All the Stars
That's an easy target, Jack.
But I have to say, like, I think they both really knocked you down pretty hard about The Fault in Our Stars. That really the whole movie is about death and that emotional ride.
It's about life, not death.
Yeah, but it's really like that movie. I do think the Anne Frank thing is weird, but otherwise, John Green's a delightful guy, and I think that it's a good story.
But I didn't really feel the same gut punch. It felt more expected in your movie than the other movie. So I am definitely looking at Tom's and Lon's. I really respected Tom's emotional attachment to the movie as a personal movie for him, and I thought he adequately explained why the moments in with the dad and having a dad, then suddenly finding out that your dad killed the other person that you love is an emotional impact and punch. Lon, for you, the same thing. Your Price example is fantastic, and a movie that is emotional throughout. So it really, like, this is really tough. Like, you both pointed out each other's score, so you kind of canceled yourselves out there. Lon calls the homage to Wrath of Khan. Tom calls the Pinocchio moment. So those kind of sort of cancel out. So I'm left with, like, what is the real thing that stuck with me? And it's really close, but I feel that Tom kind of explained that it's the whole arc of Star-Lord. And I really felt through Tom's explanation that the punch for Star-Lord was the most impactful. I'm going to give Tom the point. So Tom,
Come on,
good
I hate
job
you,
on
man.
round one.
Hi.
I know you guys love Edward Scissorhands, by the way. Kimber loves Edward Scissorhands.
I'm surprised
I love
nobody
Edward
brought
Scissorhands.
up like
I
Frankenstein
do too.
because it's very Frankenstein as well.
What did
I mean,
what did
I think
Twitter
that's
say
what-
in the poll?
On one level,
sorry.
I think I connected so much to Edward Scissorhands as a kid because it does have those. It's a remix of a lot of familiar elements, but in this kind of new Tim Burton. He's filtering it all through Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It works so well. But yeah, it definitely has a like the castle at the end of the town. That very much.
That's one of my
I'm gonna
favorite
put
Tim
this
Burton
away now.
films, and I can actually enjoy. Johnny Depp and
I
Tim
go
Burton's
back and forth on
collaboration.
that one and Ed Wood. I think those are definitely
Wood as
his
well.
top two, and then maybe like Batman Returns, like hovering just. below.
Beetlejuice is in there for me.
I have a soft spot.
I mean,
for Big
I'm a
Fish,
big
too.
classic Burton fan.
Batman
what did-
Returns is the best Batman movie, period.
What's the Twitter poll say?
Twitter poll is 44% for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so they
Wow.
relatively agree with you.
Kids love
33
Guardians, yeah.
for Edward Scissorhands and 23 for Fault in Our Stars. And I'm just going to throw out real quick that even though Monster Calls is what I because I always send Jack my alternate answers, I realized during this fight that the one that punches me in the feels the worst was the first movie that ever punched me in the feels, Transformers, the 1987 animated movie. 6-year-old me was destroyed.
I thought you were going to say Revenge of the Fallen for a minute there.
That it was me.
Age of
That's the
Extinction
biggest. That's
can
the
be
biggest
really
punch in the
emotional.
field. All right, guys. So let's move on
Damn.
to our next lightning round question. Since Tom, you won that point, why don't we give you the pick on the next question? I'm going to
I
read the
think you
four
know
that are
what I'm gonna
remaining,
pick.
and we're probably going to pick the one that I think. So the first one is so many mushrooms, odd-shaped question, get in my belly, or those wonderful toys.
See, I'm interested in the toys question because I think it's gadget based, but I'm gonna go with odd shaped question. I have to do it.
All right. So the one that I figured you'd pick is the one you picked. Okay. So, guys, the question is, what is the best movie to feature a shape, odd or otherwise?
In the title?
No, feature a shape. Like in the movie, a shape plays a prominent role in the film.
Oh,
It.
I'm sorry, which movie? Oh, It. Is that what you said? Okay.
I'm saying The Circle, but not the Emma Watson one. It's another like low budget sci-fi one that I saw on Netflix one time.
Okay.
Like a Netflix horror film type of thing, like Thriller.
Yeah, do you see
Okay.
it? You know what I'm talking about?
That counts. And then Lon.
will it count if I say Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2? Because the
Yep.
Deathly Hallows
That's
symbol
an odd
is a-
shape. You
is
got
a
it.
circle and a triangle.
Sure. I'll take it. All right. So it goes first. We're talking the new It, right?
Yeah, of course. The other one doesn't exist.
It's actually not that bad.
Anyway,
It's
I don't think
terrible.
But it is TV.
It is not good at all.
It's not that bad. And for the time, it was all right.
Tim Curry's fun. The rest of it's god awful.
All right. So Nolan, you're first with it. Whenever you're ready, time starts when you begin speaking, but don't go yet. Wait 1 second. Okay, go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. It has a villain that literally relies on its shape being shifted. It's a shapeshifter. It can turn into whatever you fear, and with you don't only just have Pennywise being a great villain, you have these great characters in the Losers Club that you relate to, you empathize with, and you want to see succeed. And then when you see them go up against Pennywise the Clown at the end, that is what makes it great. And all the shapes he turns into gives it a really interesting nightmarish feel, and it's where the shape actually plays into the story. It's not just a part of the title.
Time. All right. Tom, you had The Circle.
Okay. So The Circle is like a group of like 80 people find themselves on a ship, and they're all lined up in a circle, and they're forced to kill each other, like one person as the thing goes down, like as a timer goes down, in order, or else everyone will die. And they have no answers. They don't know where they are, but they figure this out as people just start randomly dying, that you can select people. So you get to learn about these characters as things like progress, and they kill off the people that you don't expect to be killed off, and then like
All right. And Lon, Deathly Hallows.
So Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, I mean, it really brings together everything people loved about that franchise. It sort of wraps it up in this very satisfying way. It's from a design, from an aesthetic standpoint, it's definitely the coolest I think, of those movies and the most action-packed, and that shape becomes very iconic. It's still a shape that you see people have on dresses, people have on jewelry. That Deathly Hallows image has almost become the icon of the Harry Potter series and how it's reflected, and it only pops up at the very end, the last movies that show you how impactful it is that, like, we don't, think of all of the other things we've been introduced in all those other movies.
Okay, Nolan, 20 seconds.
The Circle is a poor adaptation of a much better book, and Deathly Hallows Part 2, I don't even think many people even remember that shape much from it. That's not what they remember from Deathly Hallows. They remember the Harry versus Voldemort fight and all the characters dying. With it, you have something where the shape literally shapes the filmmaking of the movie and allows you to see so many creative choices and creative scares that the kids love, and it's also a great coming-of-age story along with that.
Tom?
I would almost be worried about Nolan's pick if he went with the original It, because that showcased his shape-shifting ability much more, and he did cooler shape-shifting. That werewolf was awesome. Lon's pick, I forgot what it was.
The Deathly Hallows.
As long as there's merchandising, yeah, people are going to wear that symbol. It's Harry Potter. There's hot topics.
Mic drop.
Merchandising. Okay, and Lon.
With It, what's the shape? He could change his shape? Is it an oval like a balloon? Because I'll be honest, when Nolan said his pick was It, I thought, oh, the shape was an oval like a balloon. I didn't even realize until his rebuttal that he meant the shape-shifting ability of Pennywise. Honestly, it doesn't even sound like a legitimate answer. It's not a memorable shape associated with that movie. He's a clown. Everybody's Pennywise the dancing clown. As for the circle, where is it? Circle?
All right, guys. Well fought. Joe, we're going to start with you. Who won the fight for you?
I'm going to go with Tom on this one because it made most sense with the actual just a circle there. It was a single shape, and I don't know. His argument made more sense to me for that reason.
Okay,
Adhered most of the concept.
I like Tom's rebuttal about how the original It was better with the shape shifting, and then the knock against Lon with that. Well, everybody will remember it because of merchandising, and that I've seen that symbol everywhere. So that made sense to me. That spoke to me.
I'm in a different camp here for this. First of all, Nolan, I thought you were going to go balloon too. So when you went shapeshifter, I thought that was an interesting way to take this question. However, I was with Lon's rebuttal that I immediately thought you were picking it because of the balloon, and then you never mentioned the balloon. And I don't know that there's a singular shape that kind of stood out enough for me. So it is between Tom and Lon. However, I thought that saying that the merchandising aspect of that symbol wasn't necessarily a dig on it. That symbol was, Lon adequately says, the symbol is like the culmination of the entire story. Like, it falls into what that symbol represents. The symbol is worn by everybody because it's memorable, which means they're remembering that movie. For me, I would pick Lon, and so I'm going to go against the other two here and say that Lon gets the point, because I thought that was the better argument.
I didn't even get to say it has meaning. It represents the 3 Deathly Hallows. I didn't even get to say that.
But I thought that's what you were sort of saying. When
I was trying to, but I didn't get to it.
Fortunately, the 90s It is terrible.
I haven't seen Circle. There's a movie that I was thinking of that I didn't say because I thought it was too obscure, called Triangle. Have you guys seen that one? It's also on a ship, which is weird. It's amazing. Go rent it. I won't say anything else about it. Check it out. It's on Netflix. It's called Triangle.
I was thinking of
like Shape of Water before this.
I was thinking of like Hellraiser with like the puzzle box.
Yeah, that's a box. That's a cube. That's a shape. Cube.
The Cube is a great movie, by the way. If you haven't
could have thought I didn't even think of Cube. Cube would have been a good answer.
Okay. All right, so Lon, you are again in control of the board for round 2. Who goes first, second, and third?
I'll go first this time. Nolan goes second. Tom, bring up the rear on this one.
Okay.
And I'm glad. You can read them again, but I'm very curious about what's in our mushroom-themed category.
Oh, so no, we have one more.
It's different. That's later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's later. That's another speed.
I'm screwing the whole thing up. Ignore me.
Round 2 begins now. So this is our 3rd season of Fan Friction, which inspired Eric Assenmacher, thank you for suggesting this question, to ask what television show had or has the best 3rd season. So Lon, you're going to start us off whenever you're ready.
So I went with Seinfeld, and season 3 of Seinfeld is really where the show the way we remember it begins. The first 2 seasons, they were it was Seinfeld Chronicles, and they were sort of figuring it out. And then season 3 is really where Larry David's voice became prominent, and it's where the show about nothing that we now think of sort of first formed, and it's got a lot of those really memorable early episodes that helped you sort of define that format, like when they're stuck in the parking garage, stuff like the Chinese restaurant, those little intimate stories where it's sort of about nothing. It's non-traditional sitcom fodder. It's that very strong observational comedy, and it's when we really started to get to know these characters, and they really started to just sort of find their footing as a comic ensemble. I think if you take Seinfeld as a whole, they're probably the best comic ensemble on television, the best 4 main characters, the way those actors work against each other and bounce off each other. And if you go back to season 3, it all comes from season 3. And what's interesting now, as we prepare for Curb Your Enthusiasm to come back, is to realize that the voice that Larry David honed on the 3rd season of Seinfeld has been now so consistent, so remarkably prolific, and has really helped define TV comedy in America for the last 20 years. I mean, I think if Seinfeld season 3 hadn't happened, you don't have Veep, you don't have Silicon Valley, you don't have all of these other kinds of shows that really, even Friends, that really kind of took that voice, Will and Grace, that sort of took that core ensemble, that really tight observational comedy, and then spun it out in a million different directions.
Awesome. Nolan, what'd you pick?
I picked perhaps the best 3rd season of last year, and possibly the best season of any TV show last year. I went with BoJack Horseman season 3. Now, on a face value, this show can seem really dumb. Oh, it's a bunch of animals who are in Hollywood and they're doing acting. But the show is so much more than that. It's this really great emotional journey for this one character who's just trying to get back in the game and keeps coming up with bad luck. It's a great satire about Hollywood. And there's so many memorable quotes and memorable characters and memorable moments in this season alone that just elevate it. And they makes it one of the best 3rd seasons that I have ever seen in TV ever.
Fantastic. And Tom?
I had to go with Twin Peaks: The Return. In season 2, we get a line from Laura Palmer that says, "See you in 25 years." And nobody thought we would be getting another season of Twin Peaks, let alone one where David Lynch was not bridled in any way. Showtime let him do whatever he want. So we got that big taste of Fire Walk with Me. And not only are there, which is what David Lynch is about, is just about asking questions and who cares if you get the answer, and actually getting the answer to some questions, which we never thought we would. It's just amazing stylistically, music choices, seeing all these actors come back, 3 who have passed, come back onto the screen. It's it was just very faithful and resurgence to the I won't say franchise, but to the mythos that is Twin Peaks.
All right, guys, fight it out.
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is both of these other examples are so recent that we really don't know what kind of impact they're going to have, or even if they're going to go on to be the best seasons of those shows. I mean, I think BoJack season 4 just came out, super vital, maybe as good as season 3. They're going to make 2 more seasons, so who knows? I mean, we don't even know if that's the peak season. And I also would say BoJack was great right from the beginning. I watched by episode 2, season 1, I was like, this show's fantastic. It knows exactly what it is. It really didn't need those seasons to develop. It's not like season 3 is the towering best season of BoJack. It's a continuation of BoJack's story. Now, Twin Peaks, I did think Twin Peaks: The Return was remarkable. I'm not going to talk shit on it, even though that's sort of my job on the show, because I thought it was an impressive, a really incredible achievement, and I can't knock David Lynch. But it really does feel more like its own thing that's kind of a sequel to Fire Walk with Me than a 3rd season of Twin Peaks. It doesn't really pick up almost any of the storylines from Twin Peaks. It mostly treats the original Twin Peaks series as a non sequitur, like Audrey's in some limbo we don't know about. Most of these characters we get a little bit oh, he's selling golden shovels now. That's not what the show is interested in. It was totally interested in exploring happening to Dale Cooper and the Dougie stuff.
Then you've read The Diary of Laura Palmer, then you've read the other books, and you've seen the missing pieces, and you know that there are these.
But that's not the question. The question wasn't what season 3 requires the most advanced research. It was what season 3 it's best season.
No, but for those interested, and if not, what's with David Lynch leaving a question in the air? That's nothing new.
The idea of the season 3 be a show that takes what's already happening in the previous 2 seasons and builds on it rather than breaks off in its own way and does entirely its own thing. Twin Peaks: Return, it's almost the best season 1.
But you bring up Seinfeld, and you're like, yeah, it's responsible for all these other things, but you're giving it credit for all the things I hate about modern television. It's four characters who have the exact same archetypes who do the exact same thing every day.
Laugh Tracks wasn't what it inspired. Laugh Tracks is what it's almost like Left Behind.
I said they have 4 different archetypes that keep repeating the same instances over and over again. Kramer's going to do something dumb.
So you're saying anything
Jason Alexander's
the last 5 years is garbage. All of TV history is crap until peak TV recently, where we discovered, oh, let's do season-long arcs on everything.
There's no because of Seinfeld, comedy? We have stuff like because of Seinfeld, we have stuff like Big Bang Theory. Like
that's
I may be biased because I can't stand Seinfeld. If I want to listen to Larry David's voice, I'm going to. Well, it definitely you can't say that didn't attribute in any way. Otherwise, you're pulling out.
Why? Because Seinfeld didn't invent the sitcom. I'm saying it invented a very specific thing, which is to ditch the sitcom format, like get rid of the gimmicky structure and make it really about those characters and building that ensemble. And that's not what Big Bang Theory is about at all.
The 4 to 5 group of friends that get into antics every week.
One-liner factory. Seinfeld's not like that at all.
And if you don't find Seinfeld funny, those laugh tracks are just going to leave it feeling awkward. And whilst Twin Peaks is an excellent suspense drama, I think BoJack Horseman just manages to balance both in a much better way. If you're not laughing at the jokes in BoJack, then you're caught up with the drama with the characters. If you're not caught up with the drama with the characters, you're laughing at the great lines. Sometimes you're enjoying both.
It's a great show. Why is season 3 so much better than season 2 or season 4?
Because season 3 has the most gut-punching moments. What, are we in round 1 again?
I don't have gut-punching moments.
It has the most emotional story for BoJack
in that he
failed one of his proteges, someone that he should have been with, and someone that he should have helped, but he didn't. And that just shows you the tragedy and the nihilism of this character, and the fact that that's allowed to evolve later on in season 4. That leaves more of an impact on you. People were talking about BoJack season 3 because of that moment. It put it on the map.
Yeah, but just because of the events of season 3 doesn't take anything away from season 4. Had so much more to say about everything. For what it says about clinical illness, like depression and stuff like that, is ridiculous how much it weighs in. I'm really surprised you didn't pick the season 4. And
also season 2, I think I agree with that season 4 probably, at least I thought was the most thoughtful. Season 2 is the funniest. Like Hollywood celebrities, what do they know? Do they know things? Let's find out. Like to me, that was the funniest season. Oh, yeah. So season 3, I mean, it had some great episodes. The underwater episode in season 3 is great. I can't believe I'm the one who has to bring that up. But I think overall, in terms of the season, I'm not really sold that 3 is so much better than any of the other seasons. And like I said, Twin Peaks: Return was amazing, but it was like an 18-part cinematic achievement almost as much as a season of television.
I mean, define it how you'd like. It qualifies for the question.
It really, other than we go to the Roadhouse at the end and a band performs, so it's almost not episodic at all.
Well, it's not even the same Roadhouse each time, which is nice. It definitely is episodic. Are you kidding me? Dougie Jones is the main storyline throughout that whole thing. There's one episode he's not in.
Right, but like you could even take Dougie's story and move it around, and it wouldn't really like until the end. Dougie's Dougie. He doesn't arc.
Look, if you know anything about David Lynch, you gotta have patience. And if you can't watch the show and have patience and watch these slow burns,
I didn't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not good. I said it was great. I'm just saying it's really its own thing. It's not like here's a great season of TV. Check it out. It's an 18-part film, experimental film. It's a sprawling epic. It's really not like a season of TV like Lost or Seinfeld has a season of TV.
All right, so let's do final thoughts then on that. So why is yours the best?
I mean, I think I'm the only one who really has here is a ongoing show. We picked one season that really made a creative jump over the other seasons, that really had a significance as a season of television, and that moved on and that made the show so much better in its wake. And I think the other two examples we have, first of all, both very recent, hard to tell what kind of impact. We don't know if Twin Peaks: The Return is ever going to have a follow-up into another season, if it built anything into future seasons, or if it's just this is how sort of it all is going to wrap up on this cliffhanger. And then BoJack, it's like, yeah, BoJack Horseman is a great show, and season 3 is a good season within a 4-season good show, but I haven't heard anything about why that's the best. That was the key season that really took BoJack and blew it up and made it more than it was before.
Okay, Nolan.
Okay. Twin Peaks is an excellent suspense drama. Seinfeld is a good sitcom, but if you do not like the humor in Seinfeld and the laugh tracks are kind of telling the audience to laugh, then you're just going to be sitting there bored. With BoJack, if you're not caught up with the drama, you like the jokes. If you're not caught up with the jokes, you like the drama. But in the ideal case, you love both. And season 3 is what put this show on the map. Everyone was talking about the death of that one particular character, which I won't spoil for anybody in case they haven't seen the show. But that is what got people talking more about BoJack Horseman and what made it what it is today. That show is going to be great because of season 3, because no one expected it to go that dark, and it had the guts to do it.
Tom.
So first off, this may all be like a glitch in the system or whatever, but Showtime did screw up and put up a art for season 4 with the title season 4 on their streaming service. So I think there is going to be a follow-up. This right here, this is Dale Cooper's FBI badge. And 25 years ago, Dale Cooper, he disappeared. Nobody had seen him. And part 17 in Twin Peaks: The Return, he says, "I am the FBI." He's back. So to tell me that it doesn't have acting storylines and stuff like that is ridiculous. It definitely closes up some old storylines and picks up some new ones. As far as Seinfeld, I'm sorry. If I want Larry David's voice, I'm gonna watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a much better show. I'm sorry, boring. I agree with Nolan. I do not like Seinfeld, but I also hate Friends. So maybe I'm just a weird breed. And as far as Nolan's show, I'm really like season 4. Like I just cannot get over. Like it tackled so many important issues. And yes, it had the setup from the previous seasons, but it had the setup from season 1 and 2 as well. And I think those are both. I mean, yes, there are some things that happened in season 3, but that's just the progression of story. That doesn't mean it's a whole series.
Awesome. Well done, guys. Very nicely done. Let's go over to Joe and Ash, see if there's any facts we need to check, and check in with Twitter.
All right. So, again, another very opinionated round. Apparently, Seinfeld had a combination of a live studio audience for some scenes and canned laugh track for others. So it was kind of a hybrid of those two things. As far as Twin Peaks season 4, according to Entertainment Weekly, David Lynch says, "Don't hold your breath," but there's been lots of speculation on will they, won't they, for another season.
David, not to interrupt, I'm sorry, but I do have, David Lynch did an interview where they were like, "Hey, do you think you'd ever come back?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't know. I might have some more ideas, maybe." But then he said, "Check in with me in 4 years." And that's so oddly specific that he would say 4 years and not like 8 years. Or like, so I think he does have a plan. And then
it's David Lynch, though.
So, get more peaks.
Who knows with him?
Who knows? He might have just said that just to mess with people like me who he knows are going to pay attention. But
well, and we know that he shot a lot of extra footage, so he may be able to do something with that too. I feel
the way it ends, it's tantalizing. It feels like he has more up his sleeve. I agree.
Oh yeah.
As far as other like ratings of this show, like according to like Rotten Tomatoes, like BoJack is like 100% for season 3. Seinfeld, because of its age, only has an audience score of 98% for season 3, and then for Twin Peaks, 94%. So like they all scored pretty positively. Seinfeld's the only one that has any kind of Emmy nominations because of the time. It won a couple for that season for its writing. Twin Peaks is too new to have been nominated for anything, and Kristen Shaw was also nominated for season 3 of BoJack. So,
awesome. What did Twitter say?
We got a lot of alternate suggestions. Heroes. Okay.
I don't know if I can agree with that one, Heroes, but that was for Raul because Raul really likes Heroes.
Oh man, you're on me.
I mean, it's 3rd season, so.
Yeah. My bad.
Black Mirror was brought up. Let's see, 12 Monkeys, which I was unaware was even a show.
I didn't even know they still had it. That's made it to 3 seasons.
Saved by the Bell. Bone.
What happened in Saved by the Bell season 3 that was better than the 4?
Malibu.
Is that the one where she was so excited?
Is the diet pill one?
Oh yeah, right.
If it's the diet pill one, I'll allow it.
Breaking Bad. There's a lot on here, and I'm gonna take them.
Lost. I was really back and forth between Seinfeld and Lost because that's the Others season when you really get to know the Dharma stuff. And
I'm gonna take a moment to chew a little of my issue here with Lon. You said that most of the characters from the previous series were non sequiturs, just kind of like afterthoughts.
No, wait, you can't do this yet. You can't do this yet. I haven't judged. Wait, don't attack. Don't
be factual. You're gonna check me on?
No, don't attack. Go ahead.
I bawled when Norma and Ed got together.
Listen, I loved it. It was great. I actually thought my favorite Ed moment was when that long ending scene where it's just him eating at the gas station alone. So heartbreaking, and played it so perfectly. And Lynch just has that patience to leave you on that shot for what seems like an eternity to really soak it in. I mean, I loved it. It was great. Nobody's arguing Twin Peaks: The Return was not terrific.
Okay, so I told Tom he should pick something different because we had round 3, but since everybody's on the Tom Fest love Twin Peaks, Tom, you get the point. I'll make it easy. Good for you.
Thank you.
No, but just to give a little bit of justification, I actually agree that the Seinfeld's impact, especially in season 3, was pretty big. But I think I think that all the things you're saying for Twin Peaks is the reason that we don't need the legacy of Twin Peaks yet. Really, the fact that they came back in 25 years and are closing out storylines, is pretty, and giving us new ones and the potential of moving on. I think it's the best pick. So anyway, Tom, you get the point. Congratulations. What did Twitter say?
Twitter's the poll as of right now agrees with Nolan that BoJack Horseman had the best third season at 42%, with Seinfeld at 33% and Twin Peaks at 25%.
Not a lot of people.
Nolan.
Not a lot of people watch Twin Peaks yet.
Well, I've only seen season 1 of Horseman.
When you do start to watch,
and I'm just going to throw out.
Yeah, it's all good.
Good. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that season 3 is not nearly as impactful until season 4
of BoJack.
Yes.
Well, right, season 4 is him. It's the consequences of the
everything and how he's like dealing with it and all the yeah.
So this is not why Tom won the point, but I will say that if you've never seen Twin Peaks or you haven't gotten around to season 3 yet, once you do, Tom did do a watch along show for season 3 on his own channel, Odd Shape channel. So definitely check that out once you start watching because it's really good.
Twin Peeps.
Twin Peeps.
We even got a shout out from Kyle McLaughlin. It was awesome.
That was dope.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool. Okay, guys. So
I need your thoughts on Billy. We'll talk after this.
Nice. We will have an after show.
I need everybody's Billy thoughts.
Okay, so let's go into the final lightning round. Nolan, you are up to pick a question. I'm going to read the 3 final categories and let me know which one you like. We have so many mushrooms, get in my belly, and those wonderful toys.
The Scottish guy in me wants to pick They're in My Belly, but I'm so curious about the mushrooms one.
All right. So many mushrooms. You guys are not even going to know where this is going. So many mushrooms. Ready? What actor should play Mario in a live-action movie?
Giovanni Ribisi.
How did you just come up with that so fast?
Danny DeVito.
Okay. And Tom. I feel like I should tell Tom that Mario is a video game character. Plumber wears red. I'm just teasing you.
Are you kidding?
Yes, I am kidding you.
About Jumpman? All right. So, I would cast Seth Rogen.
Rogen. Oh, that's an interesting pick. Okay, so we're going to go with Nolan first, then Lon, then Tom. Nolan, time begins when I get my calculator thingy to work again. Okay, go.
Giovanni Ribisi is one of the best character actors working in comedy today, and to see him play Mario could take it to such a level where it's not just a guy going after a princess and collecting gold coins. He could comment on the sort of meta kind of thing that Mario has, where it's kind of just like a video game and everyone's just doing all the stuff. It's just like a basic thing. I think he could elevate it to a point where it doesn't feel like you're just watching an Italian plumber. It feels like you're watching this really great character, and he has the ability to bring that out. Seth Rogen, I don't want to see him doing a bad Italian accent. And the same goes for Danny DeVito. I think he's too old.
Okay, Lon.
I'm the only one who picked a real Italian. So these guys are doing Italian face right from the start. Giovanni Ribisi and Seth Rogen each putting on a mustache and doing an Italian accent sounds brutally painful. I do like the idea of having a sort of an old man Mario. I think it gives you a little bit more gravitas, just like young Wolverine can seem kind of silly, but old Wolverine seems emotionally resonant. Young Mario seems kind of dumb, but an older Mario, if you come at it from like more of a hook perspective, like this is a Mario who hasn't been to the Mushroom Kingdom in decades, but he has to go back. He has to save the princess one last time. I think that can actually be a touching Mario.
All right, and Tom.
What I was focusing on was the mushrooms aspect of this question, and we all know Seth Rogen can get down with some mushrooms. So why not just do what Pineapple Express did for weed and do like this awesome Wreck-It Ralph Stoner movie? And I would even bring John Leguizamo back to cameo as Luigi for funsies. You're not going to be able to do a real depiction of Mario. Like what happens when he gets shorter? Like there's just so many aspects of that don't work and translate to real life. They tried it and it didn't work. So I think people buy it.
All right, Nolan, 20-second rebuttal.
You are never going to see a movie based off a kid's video game become a stoner comedy. And these two actors are two A-listers. Danny DeVito's too old to play Mario now. What, do you want to turn it into Logan? Giovanni Ribisi is just at the peak where he could become an A-list from that. And I think this role could shoot him into the mainstream like he deserves to be. He's a great character actor.
Time. Lon.
Here's my impression of Giovanni Ribisi as Mario. I just got this flower. He's just a mumbly, like boring, like he doesn't have the energy to be Mario on screen. He's like he plays like the little sidekick guy. And we finally do, to respond to Tom, we finally do have the technology to where you could actually make a Mario movie that looks like Mario. They didn't ever try it before because it was the 90s and they couldn't do it.
Time was 20 seconds ago. Tom.
They're not going to be able to translate Goombas into it without them looking like dumb little minions. I would take a fun like nostalgia track with Mario. I'm getting excited for this movie mostly because James Franco is going to be playing Princess Peach. So it's just going to Okay. They don't have boundaries, Nolan.
This went horribly awry. So Ashley, who would you pick?
I loved Lon's start with Italian face, as you know, a partly Italian American myself. That Danny DeVito was the only real Italian, and then his rebuttal about Giovanni Ribisi not being able to have the energy to take on the role. He's a sidekick. Lon's arguments really spoke to me.
Joe.
I also agree. Lon's is also the one that feels like it would actually be made.
I can't
Old Man Mario.
That I'm going to say that Old Man Mario is the idea that sticks the most. But I guess, Lon, you get the point. Congratulations.
He's a broken down old plumber. Maybe he's not even talking to Luigi anymore. They're estranged.
He's not a plumber anymore. Still Italian, not a plumber.
No, but that's exactly my point. He, during his adventuring days, he stopped being a plumber, but now that he's broken down and old, he's had no choice but to go back to the plumbing.
He's going back to the well.
Isn't that sad? What a sad opening scene that he's back, and it's Mario Brothers plumbing, but there's no Luigi.
Next year on Fan Friction, we talk about what part of the Mario movie punched you in the feels the most.
Yeah.
As the only Italian citizen here, I'm offended.
Hey, I'm part Italian too.
Hey, I'm half Italian.
I have citizenship.
There you go. Okay, guys, round 3, the final round. This is the mystery round. And going into the mystery round, Lon, you have 3 points. Nolan, you don't have any yet, but there's still 2 points to grab. So you can spoil for someone else, and that someone else is Tom. Because, Tom, if you get this one, you win. Let's do the mystery round. Twin Peaks, written and directed by David Lynch, just wrapped up a new season after being gone for 25 years. We just learned that. What TV show should have David Lynch guest write and direct an episode, and we're going to pitch it. So everybody's going to have about 3 to 4 minutes to do a pitch. So stay focused, get to the point right away. Lon, you won. You get to pick it one last time. Who goes when?
I'll go first on this one, and then Tom, and then Nolan will bring up the end.
All right. He didn't want to say bring up the rear, but I'll do it.
I said bring up the rear before. I was trying to mix it up.
All right.
For me.
So Lon, I'm just going to reset the timer there and go.
Now we had 2 picks, and you said be prepared to go with both.
Okay, so the way that works out. Oh, I thanks. I should have mentioned that. So there were duplicates chosen. You can still pick the same movie, or excuse me, the same show if you wish. However, the order is going to matter. So Lon's going to get to pick his choice now.
I think I'm going to go with my backup anyway because I came up.
Okay, so it may not end up being a factor, but Lon, you're going first whenever you're ready.
So I went with Archer. Now, to start off, I know the common thing would be, well, it's animated, but David Lynch does, in fact, have a background of doing a lot of cool experimental animation. Also, Archer gives you a character who's constantly intoxicated, constantly messed up, constantly with a sort of shifting, unreliable sort of focus. There's a lot of dream sequences. There's a lot of fantasy sequences. All of this adds up to something that David Lynch could do an amazing job with. Also, though David Lynch stories always have spy or sort of thriller elements, he's never really made any sort of direct style spy thriller, even though if you think about all the sort of the use of objects, the use of codes, the use of symbols that run through all those movies is sort of perfect for that genre. So I really think that if you did like a double-length, hour-long Archer adventure that's really weird, that involves Archer being dosed with some sort of chemical that causes him to have a sort of fractured, dreamlike experience, or even you trap Archer in a dream and that's the adventure, to see a sort of fractured David Lynch take on that world would be amazing. And we've seen how malleable last few seasons. It works as a spy show. It works as a sort of Miami Vice cartel show. It works as a throwback sort of noir detective series. And I think that a David Lynch surreal, dreamlike episode of Archer could be incredible and wouldn't throw off the rest of the show. It's not like the next episode, things couldn't go back to being normal in Archer. Of course they could, because it's just that kind of show that allows for that sort of free-form experimentation.
All right, Archer. Tom, you are second. What did you pick?
I want to say that I'm down with David Lynch doing an episode of anything, just because I just eat that up. But I didn't want to give him like a throwaway episode, and I want him to actually do something that helps. My choice was True Detective. Season 3 is greenlit. It's going to be starring, forgive me, I'm going to mutilate his name, so I'm just going to say it's Cotton from Luke Cage, and he was in Moonlight. He just won an Emmy.
Mahershala Ali.
He's starring in it, and there's also a rumor of Matthew McConaughey coming back. So that means we're going to have ties in with the first season, which was the good season. And the best way to flagship this, I think, would be to get somebody who can put those little seeds of mystery off the bat with the first episode. We already know in True Detective, they already pay homage to David Lynch. Let them just run the flagship first episode, set the tone, and establish some characters that, you know, they can play with later. They already lost their showrunner, so get somebody in there who, and I'm not saying he has to showrun it because I know it's only one episode, but if you get him a good head start, I think that True Detective can David Lynch behind the helm.
Okay, and Nolan, which one movie did you pick? Or show, excuse me, did you pick?
So this was really tough for me because I like pitching stuff, but there's a new show that I saw last week on Channel 4. And I just want to ask, before I start pitching this, do you guys like Blade Runner?
That's a dumb question.
Do you guys like Minority Report?
We do.
No, I hate it.
Are we being asked to help your argument, or are you just really asking?
I'm honestly just asking.
Do you like science fiction?
Well, there is a show called Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams that premiered on British TV last night. This is basically an anthology series like Black Mirror that adapts Philip K. Dick stories. And to my surprise, I thought a lot of film fans would be really into this because they love Blade Runner and Minority Report and all these great sci-fi classics. So I want David Lynch to come in and help put this show on the map. I don't want to choose a pre-established show like Archer or True Detective where you would instantly compare every other episode to the David Lynch one. I think David Lynch will be able to elevate this to that it actually gets an audience. And the episode that I want him to do, since we actually had to pitch an episode, it's based off a Philip K. Dick story called The Electric Ant, where a guy named Garson Poole wakes up after a flying car crash to find out that he's missing a hand. And he then finds out that he's an electric ant, which is an organic robot. And he further finds out that his reality is being fed to him through a tape in his chest. And so he experiments with this and tries putting holes in the chest to try and figure out what his reality is. And it's got a great message about, like, what is reality? What do we perceive as reality? Does everybody come in with reality? And with this thing, I think David Lynch could be able to do that. He already kind of manipulates realities and the things that he's done. And this would put the show on the map. And honestly, the best thing about Philip K. Dick stories is that they're just basic ideas. So David Lynch can take this, do it in his way, put this great show on the map that needs to be seen. And I think we'll have a great episode because it's an anthology series.
Okay, guys, fight it.
I don't think David Lynch has done a reimagining of another property since Elephant Man. I could be wrong, but because I'm pretty sure everything else is original. I see. This is what I'm worried about. Like, I want him to have a long-lasting impact in the series. And real quick, I know I didn't get my pitch out there, so I'm going to do it real quick. We've seen Cops already twice. I want to do a Private Eye. We're going to have the lead play Private Eye, and we're going to have the femme fatale, Lucy Liu, come in. Her husband was the sergeant of the police force in New Orleans, and she doesn't trust anybody on the force, so it falls on him to solve this weird mystery of her husband's death. But being a femme fatale, who knows? It's definitely going to have more of a noir aspect. And I think putting him in an anthology series, I would have just, if you were going to do that, just do Black Mirror. I was worried I was going to have to fight Black Mirror in this fight. That's something that would service him really well. I thought you were messing with
Black Mirror doesn't get established auteurs. That they use that to bring up new directors who are coming into their path. David Lynch being established can put this show on the map. That's my point.
Well, that's not true. Jodie Foster's doing a new Black Mirror, and we had Dan Trachtenberg do a Black Mirror. Like, they're bringing in.
They're up and comers. They're not as established as David Lynch.
That up and comer Jodie Foster.
I've never heard of her.
I don't know if you've heard of this new talent, Jodie Foster, but check her out. She's good.
For directing, she's an up and comer.
That's not true. She's made Little Man Take 20-some years ago. Anyway, here's what I want to say. To do an anthology, I was thinking about picking Black Mirror too, but that's basically just like, here, I'd like to see another David Lynch movie. Here's what my pitch would be. It doesn't really bring David Lynch to television. It's sort of the spirit of the question. Also, for a Philip K. Dick adaptation, like, it's a little obvious. Like, yes, it's about the sort of bending nature of reality. That's what David Lynch kind of does. It's a little bit pedestrian. Be like, oh, well, that's about bending reality. It's about bending reality. Let's have him do Philip K. Dick. The other thing, and this is the point I would make about both Philip K. Dick and True Detective, is that those are both already works that have a really singular voice. Nick Pizzolatto, the creator of True Detective, it's really coming from him. And what we've seen with True Detective season 1 too is season 1 they had one consistent.
Say the same about Archer.
They had Cary Fukunaga do the entire season, one consistent director that worked beautifully. In season 2, they tried to mix it up and bring in different directors for different episodes, and we saw what happened. So I think for True Detective, keeping that consistent vision across the whole season makes so much sense. So bringing Lynch in right away sort of seems like it would throw it off for the rest of the season.
HBO has a habit of bringing in multiple directors. I know you're saying the first season they had that consistent, but you can't tell me that the formula doesn't work for Game of Thrones. Like, they just have to pick better directors. Like,
no, True Detective season 1 does have one consistent director. They've never tried it for Game of Thrones.
But I'm saying HBO likes to use multiple directors. You just get better directors. Right, that's not the problem.
And everyone's forgotten about True Detective now because Fargo is better than it.
It's a totally different animal.
I mean, they're very different shows. I mean, I think that, again, though, with True Detective, it already has that sort of mix of sort of surreality with the sort of mystery.
Yeah, but
we've seen a lot of
like Nolan's. You could do whatever he wants.
Mulholland Drive opens with detectives.
First season was all King Arthurian tales. He could go and pick whatever weird Cthulhu Lovecraftian thing he wants.
I'm just saying, straight ahead detectives who get lost in a surreal, absurd, increasingly complex, dreamlike crime investigation is David Lynch. It's what we've seen David Lynch do.
Yeah,
time
but
we haven't do it well. He can do
everyone's going to compare that episode to each episode of Archer, and it's going to make every other episode feel less interesting.
No, that's. It's going to be so good that it's going to make other Archer episodes.
No, it's going to be divisive because David Lynch is a divisive filmmaker. His stuff's not for everybody. I'm giving him something that works in his wheelhouse that he could bring to the map.
But Archer's already very weird. It's not like that would be like a sudden weird episode in an otherwise.
David Lynch.
It seems like it would be a gimmick, though. It feels very gimmick. Like I don't want to knock it down because I like the idea, but seeing it would be like it's a gimmick. Like we have enough David Lynch parodies or homages throughout.
Oh, I'm not saying it would be like
True Detective season 1 has it, but
no, I mean it would be original. I just think like Archer having to sort of find these clues and gather the evidence and do the things he normally would be doing throughout an Archer episode, but in a David Lynch-like world where he's walking through rooms and he doesn't know where he is. He's losing his sense of self and place and identity. Archer both has an excellent platform for that kind of material and has never really done it before. It would be something different and new. Also, and
Nolan, yeah. Nolan's pick, you say put it on the map. Didn't you just say the first episode came out already?
Like, yeah, exactly. And it should have got a great premiere thing because everyone likes Philip K. Dick adaptations. And when you say that he's just going to be adapting something, Blade Runner is nothing like the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. There's really consistent differences. Yeah. That's Ridley Scott's vision. I want to just give him the idea of the electric hand and let him play with that and bring his own style to it. And if people hear, oh, David Lynch did an anthology show for a Philip K. Dick thing, oh, I like Blade Runner, I like Minority Report, I'll check this out. You instantly put the show on the map and you give it this audience and you let it grow so we can get bigger and better directors for it.
But you understand, it hasn't even premiered in the U.S. yet. It's going to start on Amazon next month. So you're like preemptively like,
I saw it last week.
Amazon. David Lynch. We haven't even had a chance to watch it yet. And it has Brian.
I have. I saw it last week. It's great.
But because you get Channel 4.
So let's start with some final thoughts here, Lon. You start us off. Why is your pick? Why is Archer the best vehicle for a David Lynch one-off?
Already exists in a odd, dreamlike, not quite real sort of hyper reality. And so, which is perfect for David Lynch to step into. And it's the only show he could step into and then step back out of. And it wouldn't seem like there was this one crazy episode that doesn't make sense. It's consistent enough with his vision to where he could sort of do it seamlessly. The other thing I didn't get to mention in any of the rounds is that David Lynch is quite funny. A lot of Twin Peaks is very funny. A lot of his films are very funny. Mulholland Drive has a lot of big sort of comic payoff moments. This would be a rare chance for him to really flex his comedic muscles without necessarily having to abandon all the other things he does and focus on full-on comedy like it would be if he did a traditional comedy series. It lets him balance all of the things he likes to do so well. And Archer's great at taking other sort of pop culture ephemera and fitting it into the world of Archer. They even had a Bob's Burgers crossover episode.
Awesome. Tom?
My main point is I think True Detective has a lot of potential, and if I'm going to use David Lynch, I'm going to use him to benefit something that I'm really interested in. I mean, Lon, I like the idea of doing an obscure David Lynch episode, but that's literally all I heard. Like, I want to, if I was going to know, like, does something happen without it being a parody? Is there a little girl in the radiator? Like, I want to know something. Is going to put into it, just besides it's going to be weird. Nolan, as far as yours, I just don't, like, you literally told me the description and I was falling asleep, and I feel like
it's because you've been at work for hours.
Like, if you pulled up, well, that doesn't help, but Lon entertained me enough. Don't put it on me. No, it's oh, you did it. You got me off my track. It's like I can't even say anything about it. You're saying that it's gonna elevate the show, but there's only one example of it. And then you were saying before with Lon's argument that it's gonna be immediately compared to the other episodes. It's gonna suffer from the same thing. It just had its pilot. I think with mine, it's gonna service it correctly, actually impact an entirely different series. And I want to get more noir on it. I want to get a little bit more Eraserhead, because there's definitely some leanings towards that area in the first True Detective, but we didn't get that. And I think, some jazz in True Detective doesn't sound bad to me.
Nolan, finish this out.
Okay, the problem I have with these picks is that Archer doing a David Lynch would be very gimmicky and would feel kind of out of place within that show. Tom, if I want to see David Lynch do a crime show, I'll just watch Twin Peaks again. What I'm giving him here is something that's clearly in his wheelhouse that he hasn't attempted before that would help make Electric Dreams something great. This could be TV quality on the quality of Blade Runner and Minority Report and all these great sci-fi classics. I want to let him do it. More people need to see this show, and I'm the only one here who's actually pitched an actual episode. You guys are giving more like ideas of what he could do. This is a Philip K. Dick story that's already been written, it's already out there, and it's a simple idea of just bending reality. I mean, we all think of that from time to time. To see what David Lynch could do with it could be great for TV, and just watch Electric Dreams. It's great.
All right. Good job, guys.
Yeah,
Fun
it
around.
doesn't premiere here until next month. What happens?
I saw it last week. It's really good.
I'm curious to see it now.
I'm planning to watch it. I think Bryan Cranston like co-created it or is producing it or something, right? I'm thinking.
Yeah, he's in one of the episodes later in the season. So
it's like he
Demi,
produced Sneaky Pete, and now he's doing this one. He's like getting into the producer game.
You know who might know? Our fact checker, Ashley and Joe.
Side note: Langley also knows.
Oh, does he?
This was some fact checking. Dune was the last time that David Lynch adapted someone else's work. Elephant Man came before that, which is a really interesting movie. I remember
4 years before
watching that, and when I used to sub at the other campus. David Lynch has only written 32 properties. He's directed 62. He's directed like a lot of music videos, apparently.
a surprisingly large amount of music videos.
And then Jodie Foster has been directing since 1988. She has 9 directing credits, and she's done directing consistently since 2011. She has like 5 films since then.
5 of her projects have been since 2011.
Yeah,
Little Man Tate, by the way, I think it might have been her. It wasn't her directorial debut, but it was really early. But it's a great movie. Definitely worth checking out.
In 88,
that was the debut?
that was her first directorial credit.
Yeah,
was
really good.
Tales from the Dark Side in 1988, an episode of that. And then Little Man Tate was her first film
Right,
directorial.
her feature debut. Yeah, really good.
There's no current adaptation of the Electric Ant. There is a Marvel Comics, however, that has that had a limited series adaptation, but no film adaptation or television adaptation of that story yet. So.
What did Twitter have to say?
Lots of things. For starters, Billy Polihan believes this whole round is really weird, and I'm not going to agree with him. It's about David Lynch, so it's really weird in the best possible way.
I'd say it's odd.
Well shaped.
This is a great panel, by the way. Did I mention that?
Shuggy Russell,
thanks,
I think Nolan Dean's should do really well.
Thanks, Shuggy.
Yeah, he was excited that you talked about Electric Dreams. He knew it from the moment you started your little rhetorical questions.
Yep. Eric Ossenmacher, who brought up the last round's question, doesn't know much about Lynch, so he's just going to say Legends of Tomorrow, and that could be really fun considering they do like time and space travel.
CW would never let that happen.
No, they wouldn't.
Honestly, Lynch doing superheroes would be pretty interesting.
That'd be pretty amazing, actually.
They definitely have a
Night or something. Yeah, not those guys.
I feel it would be like a trippy Watchmen type situation.
Well, Legends of Tomorrow is already like batshit. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know.
They're the protectors of time, yet they travel through time and murder indiscriminately.
I mean,
you know?
You watch The Flash and you're like, this seems weird. Like they're just keeping them all in this weird prison. And Legends of Tomorrow is just like, what if times 100? Like just like the crazy.
It's Doctor Who with superheroes.
So
I didn't read the not most dangerous game, A Sound of Thunder. If you step on one butterfly in the past, you could like ruin the whole like presidential election.
I'm not worried about that.
Oh,
I need to get back and step on some butterflies.
I have to ask you a question. Nolan, are you implying that David Lynch has not directed a seminal science fiction classic already?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
Dude,
think he might have dabbled in one before, but this would be one that's right up his wheelhouse.
Dabbled.
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 Dune's just a
I'm not-
oh my god.
I don't have any points, Joe. Give me a break here.
I am the
I've been
FBI.
there. I've been
And unfortunately, Nolan, as much as I hate to not give points out during a game, unfortunately, I think that the only thing that really hurts you the most here is it's the promise of a show, but we have nothing to fall back on as far as previous tone because no one has seen it yet. Unfortunately,
I apologize for being British, Jack.
No. Well, you can't help yourself, man. And really, when you wake up in the morning, you should apologize to the rest of the world for what you've done.
You've only seen one episode. It's not like it's
No, I think it's the tone. The problem is because no one really has a chance to see what the show is going to be like. It's hard for us to, even with the promise of the show, to really picture how Lynch, even though we can see how maybe Electric Ant might be done by Lynch, it's hard to see how he fits into the scope of that show. So really, for me, it kind of falls between Lon and Tom. This is really difficult, actually. I think I have a clear picture in my head of the Archer show and how it relates to Archer, as well as I think with True Detective, I understand how Lynch does that kind of style, so that I think it might fit. I think the hardest hit that I heard against either of the two shows came from Nolan, and that was, if I want to watch him do a cop show, I'll watch Twin Peaks, because that's already there. But I mean, I have trouble picturing Lynch driving a whole season by just doing one episode, whereas I think he could walk easily into Archer and do one episode, and it would fit perfectly in the theme. So for me, Lon does get the point, and that means Lon, with 5 points, wins today on Fan Friction. Well done, Lon. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Well fought, though, but not making it easy on me, guys.
This is not a show where if you don't get points, it doesn't matter. Nolan, you had a great fight today. I think you did really well choosing your pick, so thank you very much for being here. Let's start with you. Tell everybody where they can find you on the internets.
Well, you can find me at Nolan Dean 27, and is it okay if I plug something here?
Plug away, sir. Plug away.
All right. Well, on my channel, it's also Nolan Dean. I've just hit up over 700 subscribers doing video essays, which I think I'm going to be doing for this foreseeable future. And if you go to my Twitter right now, I just put a sneak peek up of a book that I'm writing called Moonflower. It's a very fun little fantasy story about a kid who brings her favorite fictional character to life, and then she turns out to be a bad guy. It's a really fun story. I can't wait to share that. And just to compensate losing this fight, I'm going to go watch this to feel better about myself.
That's the uplifting movie you've chosen. Interesting choice.
Hey, at least you're not dead.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Tom, you just started doing a new show on our channel. It's a twofer, which has been, I love it. We're trying to get that promoted out there. So tell people a little bit more about your new show and your own channel.
New show on TUFF is called It's a Twofer. It's like a double bill review show. We go and we pair up two movies, kind of like some wine and cheese is the best analogy I can think of. So the next one we have coming up is Frank, starring Michael Fassbender, tied together with Hedwig, starring James Cameron Mitchell.
Awesome.
So,
and that's every other Thursday?
Every other Thursday. This coming one we'll have one. And cool. My other channel is Odd Shape Channel. Currently we're doing a fun little cryptid sightings of, like, we just did Bigfoot and we talked about them in pop culture too. And we're also doing something else. We have Odd Shape Panel every other Monday. And Mormozone. He goes and he gets somebody and he has an interview for an hour, and each time it's a good time. So if you're interested in being on a podcast, let me know at Odd Shape Panel.
Thank you very much for being here today, Tom. I really appreciate it. Well fought. And Lon, tell everybody where they can find you.
At LONS is where I am on Twitter, and I'm on Screen Junkies stuff a bunch, so check that out. Definitely, if you guys are Screen Junkies viewers or fans, check out these weekend videos. We're calling them special editions, stuff like we did like the top 10 best Stephen King movies. I'm doing one now that's like Blade Runner for millennials. Check those out. We're working really hard on them. It's a new thing we're trying to do, sort of like these kind of prepackaged weekend videos. Billy Max and I, Joe Starr, we're really working hard on them.
And you are definitely my favorite Electra. Just
thank you. Yes,
Yeah, you're
honest scene grew out of these same brainstorming sessions.
So thank you, Lon, again, for joining us and being on our show. We really do appreciate it. It's great really to have you here and be a part of this, so thank you. And Ash and Joe, tell them where you can find you and about your show tonight.
Well, you can find us on Twitter as shown below. I'm at Drake Masters.
And I'm at _Mrs. Davis. And tonight, 7 Eastern, we'll be reviewing The Fault in Our Stars. We're going to be giving away your choice of a sticker. We have a BFF sticker, and then Janine's lovely design that she did for the TeePublic contest. So as long as you responded with your guess of what we're going to be reviewing, you'll be entered into that drawing. And it's just going to be a really fun time talking about the movie. And if anybody wants to come by and join us in the chat, we'll definitely bring up some questions during our review. Totally. We'll talk about the fight. It'll just be a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys want a real quick one? Tell them about Geek to My Nerd as well.
Yep, that's our communal Twitter, at Geek to My Nerd with underscores separating all the words. We need to put it on our bottom third.
We do.
And we have a YouTube channel where we do some live stream Let's Plays stuff. We haven't done any since school started, but we need to pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to do one for when Blade Runner comes out called Read Only Memories. It's like a little adventure game in the style. It reminds me of Snatcher, which is an old Hideo Kojima game where it's like Blade Runner. It's inspired by Blade Runner.
Super inspired by.
we're going to be playing through that. I don't know if it's in chapters, but we'll figure out some way to divide it up into, chunks.
Fantastic. And guys, I'm Jack Shipley at JRSPipBoy2008 on Twitter, wherever the heck that is on the bottom. So feel free to yell at me there. And then, of course, follow the channel here on YouTube and subscribe, or talk to us on Twitter at the TUFF channel, TUFF channel on Twitter. And that's our show. We will be back in 2 weeks on October 8th, where our special guest will be Emma Fife. And 2 more fans from the community will join us to fight it out on Fan Friction. So, guys, thank you very much. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Goodbye.